Hi guys, welcome to our week 2 meeting. Hi Veronica. Um, all right, so let's talk about the class. I have just graded your week 1 discussions, so if you go online, you'll be able to see it now. I think if you did your part, you got 100. But some of you be careful because you didn't post to or you didn't reply to your classmates posting. So in your future discussions, remember to get the full credit. You must do your own posting and also reply to one of your classmates posting as well. Now, for this week, remember we have chapter 2 that's due, and then your sync chapter 1. Most people finish it. Now, if you didn't finish for some reason, so if your computer wasn't working, or if you're having trouble with the online account, let me know. I can go back in there and then reset the due date for you for chapter 1. So work on chapter 2, and then if you have any question, let me know. Okay. Now for today, let's talk about your chapter 2 stuff. Chapter 2 is an intro to chapter 3. It covers some very important information, but it's not that very difficult. So let's go over the PowerPoint. Okay. And then guys, remember, just like before, if you have any questions during the meeting, put your questions on the event page, and I have my computer set up as dual screen, so I can look at my computer here and then do the video chat now. So if you have any question, just post your questions on the event page, and I'll answer it when I see it. Okay. All right. So let's start talk about chapter 2. Now let me do a screen sharing so you can see my side of the computer. And again, guys, keep in mind your chapter 2 PowerPoint is also posted online. So download it, and then you can watch the video and then have the PowerPoint open next to you so you can do it side by side. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about chapter 2. Now, so chapter 2, think like an economist. Now, the first part of chapter 2 is talking about, how economics is a science, not an art, and what is a scientific method. Now, many of you dealt with this a long time ago, so you all know what this is. So this is not a very important part of chapter 2. So let's go to the important part, the one you have to know. So this model over here, the first model you're going to learn is something called a circular flow diagram. So for the circular flow diagram, it covers a very simple market or situation where in the marketplace or in the economy, there are only two kind of markets out there. You have the market for good and service. That's your Walmart, your Kroger, your Amazon, the place that you guys go to buy stuff. And then the second market is the market you don't deal with every day, but still there. It's called the market for factory productions. And then for the circular flow diagram, we're going to assume there are only two parties or two actors. They're the household, and then we have the firms. So let's look at each market. Now, first of all, we need to know what is the factory production. So for factory production, is the resource that company need or company use to produce any good and service. And for this resource, they're including your labor. So labor, they're the workers you have. They're the human knowledge that each worker possess. And then we also have land. Land is more than the land you're standing on. Land is also including everything, all the natural resource that's within the land. And then so which means your lumber, your what I'm saying, your water, your air, those would be all part of land. And then capital. Capital, we're talking about real capital, so physical capital, the stuff you can touch and use. We're not talking about any financial capital. So if you're talking about like stocks or bond or even money, those would be financial capitals. Now, financial capital is not part of the factors of production. And then there's a reason why for that. Now, we talked about this last week. So, remember how I was saying that, for every individual person, for every company, we don't need money. We need what the money can buy. So same here, for any companies, they don't need money. What they need is what money can buy. So therefore, money and also your financial capitals, they are not part of the factory productions. Your real capitals, such as building, machines, tools, those would be your real capitals, and that's part of factory production. And then another thing is that there's one more item on there that's not on the PowerPoint, but you might need to know. It's something called entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is the last one of the factor productions. So entrepreneurship is anybody who would take on the risk to gather all the factor productions and then to run the business. Okay, so that's the factor productions. And let's look at our two parties. So first party, we have our household. So household, they're us, no, you guys, or our families. And then for household, we own the factor productions. So we are the labor, we own all the capitals, we own all the land. And then we want to buy good and service. And then for firms on the other side, firms, they want to buy or hire factor productions and then use them to produce good and service. And then in return, they will sell the good and service to us. So let's look at each market. Let me put on this slide over here. For the first market, for the market for factor productions, now when you guys think about the demand side or the supply side, between different market, the demand and supply are switched. So for the first market, for the market for factor productions, so think it in terms of labor. So in the labor market, your firms, they're on the demand side for labor, and a household on the supply side for labor. So the market for factor productions, household, they're the supplier, and then firms, they're the demanders. So household supply labor is land capital, and then firms, we're gonna acquire factor productions, and then we're gonna pay for it. So company pay for them in terms of wage, rent, and profit, and then household take this, and we call this our income. So this is your market for factor productions. So household on the supply side, firms on demand side, and then therefore your firms will pay for it with wage, rent, and profit. And then for household, we call this income. Okay. And then for the second market is the market we're all used to, is the market for good and service. So your store like Walmart, Target, Galleria, they're all market for good and service. And then for this market, household, we're on the demand side. We want to buy the good and service. And then we're going to spend our money for it. So it's called spending. And then company would take the money, they will call it revenue. And then when they have revenue, they will produce the good and service. So they will sell good and service, and then we're going to buy good and service. Now, so the GNS, this stands for good and service. Okay, so household, we buy good and service. Firms, they will sell good and service. All right, so this is a complete picture of the two market and two parties. So make sure you know how each flow works. So the outer line, the green line, shows how money flows, and then the inner line, the red line, shows how resource and good and service flows. All right, so this is the first model you're gonna learn. A very basic model. If you memorize this picture, you'll be fine on the test. Okay, or take a picture of it, either one you want. Now, the second model is a little more difficult. It's called the production possibility frontier. Now, for production possibility frontier, it's a graph shows the combination of two good the economy can possibly produce given the available resource and available technology. So this is a very watered down model, a very simple representation of the economy. Because for this model, we can only do two good. Now, the reason why is that because when we draw the model, this will be a two-dimensional curve. Okay, so if you do a three good, there'll be a three-dimensional curve. If you do four good, there'll be a four-dimensional curve. Now, try to picture a 4D graph in your head. All right, stop. Don't hurt yourself. Okay, it's not that hard. It's not easy to think about. So that's why we're gonna only do a 2D graph over here. Therefore, the production possibility frontier is only involving two good. Okay, and then we have limited resource and limited technology. And then so for our example, let's say the two good we're gonna produce is either computers or wheat. And then if you're Stewie from Family Guy, this would be computers of wheat. Okay. And then they will share one resource, so one common resource, labor. And then this labor is measured in labor hour. So labor hour is how many workers you have multiplied by how many hours each worker works. So let's suppose you have 10 workers, and then every day each worker work 8 hours. So for the entire day, your labor hour will be 8 times 10, so 80 hours. Okay. And then for our economy, for example, we have a limited number of labor hours. So we have total of 50,000 labor hours per month available for production. All right, now next, let's look at this over here. So to produce one computer requires 100 labor hour. To produce 1 ton of wheat require 10 labor hour. And then we're gonna have different combinations. So for the first combination, let's suppose we're spending 50,000 labor hours all producing computers and 0 hour producing wheat. So how many computers can we produce? Well, what you're gonna do, you're gonna take your 50,000 labor hours divided by 100 hours each. So for the entire production, we can produce a maximum 500 computers. And at the same time, because we're spending no hour in wheat production, therefore your wheat production will be 0. So for the first production, point A, that we're going to have 500 and 0. And then for point B, let's say we're spending 40,000 hours in computer, 10,000 hours in wheat. Then for the computer production, going to take 40,000 hours divided by 100. That will be 400. And then for wheat, that will be 1,000. So that's 10,000 divided by 10, that's 1,000. And then keep going, that you get all the numbers. And then to the very end, the last point, that we're spending 0 hours in computer, 50,000 hours in wheat. And then because you're spending 0 hours in computer, you're going to produce 0 computers over here. Now for wheat, we're spending 50,000 hours. So 50,000 divided by 10 hours each, they're going to produce 5,000 wheat. So this is the production points for the company or for the economy. And then from this production points, we can draw our production possibility frontier. Okay, so so if you guys want, get a piece of paper next to you, and then let's draw this one together. Let me do a split screen. Let me do a new page. Hit that sound. All right, here we go. Okay, well, let me find my pen. Hopefully I have it with me. All right, so it will be a 2-dimensional curve. Let's say we put wheat on the vertical axis, so vertical, horizontal, and this will be wheat over here, and then on the horizontal will be computers. And then we're gonna put each points on the graph over there. Now for the first point we'll have 500 computers and 0 wheat. So 500 computers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 500. And let's call this one point A. And then for second point, point B will be 400 computer, 1,000 wheat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this will be point B. And then point C will be somewhere over here. That's 250, 2,500, point C. And then point D is here, point D. And the last one, point E. All right, so 5 points. And then connect all the 5 points. All right, pretty good. So this line is called a production possibility frontier. All right, so that's how to do PPF. Now, the thing with PPF has some very special properties. The most useful thing for PPF is that we can see how much is the opportunity cost. Now remember we learned opportunity cost in your chapter 1. So opportunity cost is what you give up for something else. So for example, if we go from point A to point B, it will show you how much our opportunity cost is. Now, if you look at from point A to point B, we gain 1,000 wheat, but we lose about 100 computers. So how much you give up or how much you lose, that is your opportunity cost. So for this question over here, that for our opportunity cost from point A to point B, we lose 100 computers, and that is your opportunity cost. So you can tell from the table, you can also tell from the graph, okay? And then the second most important thing for this PPF is that it will show you which point is possible, which point is inefficient, and which point is efficient. So let me go back to split screen. Now, let's look at this graph over here. So can this economy in 1 month produce 500 computers and 5,000 wheat? Is it possible? Well, let's see how much it would take. So remember, for our economy over here, we have a limited number of labor hour. So the most labor hour we have is 50,000 hours. So to produce 500 computers, every computer requires 100 hours. So to produce 500 computers, we need 50,000 labor hour. And then to produce 5,000 wheat, every wheat require 10 hours. So this would be another 50,000 labor hour. So if you put 2 and 2 together, this combination require a total of 100,000 labor hour. But we only have 50,000 labor hour. So for this combination, the 500 computers and 5,000 wheat, this is impossible. We don't have enough resource. And then if you graph this point on the PPF over here, the 500 and 5,000 is somewhere over here. And let's call this one A, B, C, D, E, F. So for point F over here, we know it's impossible. And if it's outside of a PPF, that is impossible. So for any point that's outside, we call them impossible. Okay. Now, and then next, let's look at another combination. So is it possible for this economy to produce at same month 100 computers and 1,000 wheat? Oh, too many. There. Oh, come on. Eraser. There we go. All right, wheat. All right. So is it possible? Now for 100 computer, this now requires what, 10,000 labor hour. That's horrible handwriting. I'm sorry, guys. Chinese can't help it. All right, and then for 1,000 wheat, this also require 10,000 labor hour. So if you put 2 and 2 together, 10,000 hour plus 10,000 hour, that'll be 20,000 hour. Now again, we have 50,000 labor hours. So for this combination over here, it is very possible. It's doable. And then if you graph it, the 10, 100, 1,000 will be somewhere over here. Let's call this one point G. So for point G, it's very possible. Now, however, we're not using all the resource we have. So for any point that's inside the curve over here, if they're inside, we call them inefficient. Okay, so points outside is called impossible. Points inside is called inefficient. And then for any points on the curve, so if you look at these 5 combinations over here for point A, B, C, D, E, for these 5 points that they're using all the resource we have, because for each combination over there, they all use 50,000 labor hour. Therefore, for these 5 points, we call them efficient. Okay, so get it? So points outside the curve is called impossible. Points inside the curve is called inefficient. Points on the curve is called efficient. All right, everybody got it? Okay, so one more time. So for any point that's outside the curve, we don't have enough resource, so we call them impossible. For any points inside the curve, we're not using all the resource, so we call them inefficient. And then for any points on the curve, we're using all the resource we have, so we call them efficient. Everybody got it? Okay. So one more time, for any points outside, we don't have enough resource, so we call them impossible. For any points inside, we're not using all the resource we have, therefore they're called inefficient. And then for any points on the line, we're using all the resource we have, therefore they're called efficient. Okay, so points outside impossible, points inside inefficient, and then points on the line it's called efficient. Everybody got it? Yeah, one more time. Okay, so points outside, we don't have enough. Oh, we don't have enough resource. We call them impossible. Points inside, we have unused resource. It's called inefficient. Points on the curve, we're using all the resource we have, so this is called efficient. So outside impossible, inside inefficient, on the line efficient. Everybody got it? Okay, one more time. All right, so points out. I'm gonna stop here for now. So just remember outside impossible, inside inefficient, on the line efficient. Okay, all right. Trust me, this will be on your test. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Again, if you see this point inside point F, that will be what inefficient, right? And then if you see a point outside point G, that will be impossible because it's outside. All right, let me see what else I'm going to talk about for this chapter. All right, slope. So you guys all learned slope before. Yes, there is a there is another term for impossible. It's also called unattainable. So again, infeasible, same thing. So it all means we cannot get there. Okay. All right. Now let's try this. So on the now again for the slope, you don't have to know the slope. The reason why is that it's not that really useful, and it does get you people confused very often. So we're gonna ignore the slope. Okay. I will show you another way to do this. So you're gonna see a question like this on the test and also on the quiz. You're gonna have two PPF, so two countries, and then with two good. And then we'll ask you a question like, what is opportunity cost? And then chapter 3, we'll be asking for, what is the comparative advantage? What is absolute advantage? Now, for a question like this, we're gonna do something called, or I call it, the 4 prices. Now, I think my way is better than the way in the book. But that's my opinion, but it's also fact. Okay. All right. So let me show you the 4 prices. The 4 prices is actually very simple. It replaces what you do with all the slopes. So let's get started. All right. So for the 4 prices, we're gonna have so 2 countries and 2 goods. So 4 prices. So price of wine in France, price of clothes in France, and then price of wine in England. Now again, guys, sorry about the handwriting. I'm using my Surface Pro as a notepad right now, so it's hard to write on the surface. Okay, but it's a pretty cool computer. If you guys ever use it for notes taking class, it's pretty good. All right. All right, so let's do the price of wine in France. Now, every time you're looking for the price of each good, keep in mind, we're not looking for like how much in dollar term the cost is. We're looking for how much the price in term of the other good is. So when you're looking for the price of wine, that means how much would it cost you in term of clothes. Okay, and then to find the numbers, when we look at the PPF over here, we don't care about all the little numbers in between. So all these little lines in between, we don't care about it. So only thing we care about for this is the to end point. All right, so for the to end point, we only take the extreme production points. So for France, if you look at the end point, now remember, whatever you're looking for each good, that maximum production goes on the bottom of the fraction. So whatever you're looking for goes on the bottom. So looking for the price of wine, then the maximum number of wine goes on bottom. So for France, a maximum they can produce 600 wine. And then for clothes, this one goes on top. So a maximum France can produce 300 clothes. So 300 over 600, this will be what? Half. Now, remember, this is in terms of clothes. Okay, so half clothes. And then for the price of clothes in France, we do the same thing. So looking for clothes now. So clothes goes on bottom. This will be 300 clothes. And then on top will be the other one will be wine. So that'll be 600 wine. So 600 over 200, that will be 2 wine. Okay. So which means in France, for every unit of wine, it will cost you half clothes. For every unit of clothes, it costs you 2 bottle wines. And then we do the same thing for England. So for England, at a maximum, our wine will be 200. And then for clothes will be on top, that will be 300 clothes. So that will be 3 over 2 clothes. And then for the price of clothes in England, same thing. We put the maximum number of clothes on the bottom. That will be 300. And then wine goes on top, or eraser. All right, so that will be 200 wine on top. So this will be 2 over 3 wine. Okay, so that's the 4 prices. Now this 4 prices is also the opportunity cost of each good in each country. That means in France, the opportunity cost of 1 bottle of wine is that you give up half unit of clothes. And then in France, for every unit of clothes, you give up 2 bottle of wine. Okay, so that's also your opportunity cost. All right. Anybody have any question at this point? Okay. If no questions, let's keep going. All right, let me go back to my PowerPoint. All right, so economic growth, and then this again goes back to, I think it's number 8 principle in chapter 1, is that for an economy, we don't care about how much money we have, we care about how much good and service we can produce. So we can also use PPF to show economic growth in the economy. So if anytime your economy can produce more good, we call this economic growth. So if anytime if you see a PPF shifting upward, that representing economic growth. All right, KP, I see your question. If something is inefficient, that means it cannot produce at the point, right? If something is inefficient, that means it's very possible to produce at the point. It just means we're not using all the resource we have. And then to use all the resource or to be more efficient, we should be moving more to the right or closer to the line. I hope to answer your question, okay? All right, so let me give you an example of this economic growth. Suppose for an economy, we're currently producing, I don't know, maybe iPhones and books. And let's say for our economy, we all of a sudden we have more immigration to the country, so more people in the country, and then with more people in the country, we have more number of laborers. So with more laborers, the production possibility will increase, and then your PPF is shifting onward, and then your economy will grow. Now, again, this right now, this is a very popular topic among politicians. People against immigration for many different reasons. But in terms of economics, immigration does help a country's economy, because with more immigration coming into the country, that we can produce more good for the country. So the country economy does grow. And then if you look at the U.S. economy, for every period of very high economic growth, is always partnered together with very high immigration growth. So they do go hand in hand. Okay. Now let's keep going. So let's talk about the shape of PPF. So PPF, Now, usually you see it's a straight line, but sometimes you're gonna see a PPF that looks like this. It's a bolted outward shift. Okay, so the reason why it looks like this, let's do a little example here. The Suppose we have a company, and then for our company, what do we do? We do translation. So we're translating papers. And then for our economy, we only have two laborers, so two workers. So let's say we have me, and then we have KP. All right, KP, I'm going to use it for example over here, okay? So KP, and then X over here. Let me answer trans question for a second, guys. Give me 1 second. Yes. Also watch on YouTube. Okay, all right, so let's continue. Now, let's suppose that for our translation business, we only do two kinds of translations. We're translating either, I don't know, let's say English and then Chinese. Now, I can speak fluent Chinese. I don't speak English at all. You guys can already tell. And then so suppose for me over here at a maximum, I can do 10 Chinese paper per hour. And then I can do a maximum 2 English paper per hour. And then for KP, she can speak fluent English. So for her, at maximum, she can translate 10 English paper. And then she can probably speak a little Chinese. Although I never met KP before, but I'm pretty sure she can speak Chinese as well. Because Kai Pai, that looks like a Chinese name. So let's say KP can translate 2 Chinese paper at maximum per hour. Now, so suppose that for our business over here right now is Chinese is very slow, so we don't have any Chinese demand, but we have a lot of demand for English. And that means at maximum we can do 12 English and then 0 Chinese. Now, and then on another point, let's suppose that we try to be very efficient. Then we allow each person to do what they do at best. Then KP will only do English. There will be 10 paper from KP. And then I only do Chinese, so I will have 10 paper from me for Chinese. So 10, 10. And then let's say on the other extreme, that we don't have any demand for English, that everybody all want to have Chinese papers. So now we're gonna have 0 English paper, and then between two of us, it will be 12 Chinese paper. Oh, that looks like an R. Guys, that's a 12. Okay, let me write it. Okay, so 12. All right, better. Now let's draw this PPF. So English, Chinese. All right, so the first point we have is this point. So 12 English, 0 Chinese. So let's say this is 12, and this would be the point A. And then for 10 and 10, well, let me draw this. So that's a 12 here. That's a 10. That's a 10. So 10, 10 is probably somewhere over here. And then for the third point, 0 and 12, this would be the third point over here. So we have all 3 points. Let's connect the dots. All right. So this is our PPF. But you see how this curve is like little curve shaped, right? The reason why, because between our 2 producers or 2 resource over here, there's a specialty involving resource. So every time you have a specialty resource, your PPF looks like this. Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay, so if no questions, let's continue. We almost finished with chapter 2. All right, and then next, let's talk about what is the microeconomics, what is macroeconomics. So microeconomics is that we look at the economy on a smaller scale. So variables such as your um, the price of apples, the price of milks, how households spend our money, what kind of business produce, or what kind of market structure that is. So focus on the economy on a smaller scale. That's called a microeconomics. And then if you guys take the next econ class, the econ 2302, that will be the microeconomics. For the macroeconomics, for our class over here, we look at the economy on the economy-wide phenomena. So factors that can affect the entire economy. So your inflation, unemployment rate, interest rate, economic growth. So this will be all relating to the entire economy. So therefore, that's called a macroeconomics. All right, and then last one. So last slide for chapter 2 is the difference between the positive statements and then normative statements. Positive statement deal with what the world is or deal with facts and numbers. Normative statement based on people's opinion or what the world should be. Um, and then for economics, we're gonna deal with positive statement very often. We're gonna stay away from normative statement, and there's a reason why. So for positive statement, the they tend to be very consistent. They don't change very often. But for normative statements, especially people's opinion, it change all the time. And then trust me, you guys change your opinion too. So if everybody, let's take a pause. Think back in 2009. So I don't know, for the younger of you guys, you were probably what? So 2009, you'd be what, sixth grade, maybe seventh grade, right? Think back in those times. Remember how cool Justin was? Justin Bieber, right? Or Miley Cyrus. Remember how cool they were? Everybody all looked up to them, right? Are they still cool anymore? Um, I'm hoping there's no Justin Bieber fan here. Why? Because our opinion changed. We used to like them, but we don't like them anymore. But really, guys, if you look at Justin Bieber, he's still little ass just like before. But why did it change? Because our opinion for him changed. Okay, so that would be a normative statement. And a positive, again, based on numbers, facts. Um, Therefore, we're gonna stick with positive statement. Okay. All right. That's it for chapter 2. Let me close this. Does does anybody have any questions for chapter 2? Yeah, if you have questions, write on the event page. Um, Let me hold on for a second, just in case people are typing. No questions? All right. If no questions, don't forget to do your discussion for this week. And then don't forget to do your chapter 2 quiz, your chapter 2 assignment. And then if you do finish early, work on your chapter 3. Chapter 3 is a little more challenging, so you want to spend more time on it. Okay. So again, guys, if you have any question, let me know. Send me a message, either Google Plus Hangout, or send me an email. I reply as soon as I see it. So if no questions, I wish everybody a good luck, and then I will see you guys same time next week. So every Thursday, 2 p.m. and I will see you guys on Google Plus. All right, guys. See you later. Bye bye.